Hi, good evening. Welcome to Maryville Cares, a show about children and families in Chicago, and I'm quite delighted to share with you our guests here. I'm Amy Kendal from the Maryville Crisis Nursery, administrator of our community-based family services, and I'm just so grateful to spend some time with our colleagues at Family Focus Lawndale, who really are doing some innovative work to help families. So let's begin by introductions, and then we can get into a little bit of the work that we're doing and know that the services are there for families on the west side of the city. And so you can tell us a little bit more about that. But Loukessa, why don't you begin? Introduce yourself.
I'm Loukessa Hawkins. I'm the case manager for Family Focus Lawndale, and I work with families with children birth to 3 years old.
Okay, great.
Thank you. I'm Darren Harris. I'm the Program and Center Director at Family Focus Lawndale. We're located in the Hawkins Square Community Center at 3517 West Arlington Street in Chicago in the North Lawndale community.
Wonderful. And if you don't mind me asking, how I get the impression you both have been working with families for a long time. How long have you been working with families, Loukessa?
Well, I've been working with families probably since the age of 14. I'm not going to tell you my age.
Okay.
But started off as a tutorer, went on to run 2 after-school programs, and then started being a preschool teacher. Then that's when I came over to Family Focus to be a parent educator, and now I'm the case manager. So it's been years of working with families and children.
Yeah, that's wonderful. They're lucky to have you. And
I've been with, I've been in social services for over 20 years. I started my career as a mental health specialist at a residential facility, and then I transitioned to do in-home counseling and crisis intervention, and I've been with Family Focus for 18 years, wow. 18 plus years. I started off as a program supervisor at our Family Focus Inglewood location, and then I transitioned to our Peoria office, which used to be called our central office, and I worked there for 4 years as an associate and director of family services. And then about 3.5 years, I transitioned to Lawndale as this program and center director there.
Wow, so you both bring a wide variety of different history of working with families, and we all know that this is a very important time for us as we're trying to keep families together and children safe. Yes. That is our priority. That's kind of why we felt like highlighting what you're doing is really important so people know where to call and what's happening. I think that the pandemic really stretched our resources to the max. Yes. And now we're at a time of regrouping and healing and shifting some things so we can really make sure we can build upon our strengths here in Chicago. So let's go into this a little bit. If one of you want to talk a little bit about Family Focus as an organization and a little bit about your history.
Sure. And I'll just read out the mission statement and the kind of background. Family Focus Lawndale is a non-for-profit family support center serving those in the North Lawndale community of Chicago. Our mission is investing in strengthening families and their children in Chicago and Northeast Illinois so that they build social capital, achieve upward economic mobility through high-quality, innovative program and services grounded in anti-racism and social justice. And it's important that I mention that in 2001, we merged with another agency called Chicago Child Care Society, and they've been doing great work. They've been doing work since 1849. They kind of started as working with orphans who have been kind of abandoned due to an epidemic in the 1800s. And so they've been doing the work for quite some time. But more recently, maybe since like 2013, a lot of what they did was center-based early Head Start. And so we merged in 2001, and so we had 7 sites, and then they had 3, including the central office. So we have a total of 11 sites.
Oh,
so
wow.
We have sites in South Holland, South Shore Chicago, and in Hyde Park. Those are the Chicago Child Care Society former sites. And they do mostly early Head Start center-based services. Now, the other 7 sites are in North Lawndale, where we are, Inglewood, Belmont Cragen, Cicero, DuPage County, in Glendale Heights, Aurora, Evanston, where Family Focus was started, and then in Highland Park as well. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that our founder, Bernice Weisbord,
Yes.
recently made her transition, and she served the agency well. She lived 99 great years,
Yes.
and I've been working with the agency for 18 and a half years, and I've gotten to know her, and she will be sorely missed.
Yeah, no, I'm so grateful that you brought her up, because what an impact on our city, and that we have some great leaders who've been around for a long time that we've all watched and learned from, and you really are, you learn from one of the best. And,
Indeed.
Family Focus hasn't stayed around this long because that wasn't happening. So, kudos to her spirit, and how, your whole organization's moving forward to keep that going, and keep nurturing the past, our current situation, knowing what the past is, but also recognizing that we're all in this interesting time of, what's the word I want to use? Kind of reigniting different parts of services. And in so many ways, I think if you can stick to the basics, you're in good shape. And sometimes we forget that. And certainly she was one of those people who, at the core, that's vital, because people need to feel safe, and they need to know that they're respected. And from there, a lot of beautiful things can happen.
Absolutely.
It definitely everyone at this particular time needs to feel supported as well.
Absolutely.
Not everybody has those have family members or support systems that they can lean on, and it's important for agencies like Family Focus in Maryville that these programs exist, so that they can get additional support. Bernice was basically founded the family support movement, and so it's been an honor to kind of continue to work.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for reminding us. And I know one of the key things that, in the research, and also in terms of Illinois really highlighting the focus on early childhood, which is, dear to my heart as well. And I know how critical home visiting is. So maybe we can talk a little bit about what that looks like, and how that intervention can be, best for our families.
Well, as I stated earlier, home visiting is where I came into Family Focus, and parenting doesn't come with a handbook. So I definitely wanted to make sure that I was able to assist families and parents specifically with helping their children to grow and to blossom. So I know in our program we use parents as teachers curriculum, because we believe parents are the child's first teacher. We also do trainings with the parents. We do groups and talk about different things that they might be going through, such as mental health, going through the holidays. We just had a group going through the holidays, how to deal with grief, loneliness, things of that sort, and even how to start a bank account. So we've had banks on. So just house things, family things that will help families grow and thrive together. We also have a doula program, prenatal, just things from cradle to 3 years old. We have a partnership with the YMCA, so when they transition out of our program, they're ready for pre-K. So we want to be all encompassing with the family, and making sure that they have what they need when they come to us and as they transition out from us.
Well, when I hear you talk about it, it almost seems to me like Family Focus becomes an extended family member, in terms of recognizing that, as you said, parents don't have a handbook. And, we talk a lot about how when parents are having a child, they have an imagined sense of what it's going to be like. And then when things are not the way we imagined, that can really create an unstable situation when we're not really quite sure what to do. And that's for all parents. It doesn't, I have 3 children and all 3 of them were different, and they're, in their 20s now, and I'm still learning how to be a parent.
Absolutely.
So I think the beauty of programs like ours is that it really comes from a non-judgmental, and what I hear you saying is a lot of education. And that's what we really want to breed for our children, is knowing that it's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely.
And that's what you've been doing for families for decades.
Yes, and helping families know that we're there to walk alongside you, not pull you, not push you, but we're here in those moments to help get you through them.
Yeah, and as you said, they are moments. So in terms of the home visiting program, you mentioned that you do use the Parents as Teachers curriculum.
Yes.
And maybe you could share a little bit about what a typical home visit would look like for a parent maybe who hasn't had that experience. What might they expect?
The times are set by the parent and
Okay.
the days, and of course we have activities ready for the children. Say they're working on fine motors, we'll bring activities with fine motors, and the parent does the activities. So we give them a handout, what this helps the child with, how it helps them cognitively, their fingers, and so we're there for like 90 minutes. So we're talking, we're playing, we're checking up on the family, and sometimes we can't get to the activity because there's so much going on with the parent. I do want to say that. So, but we leave the activity. The parent takes pictures, we do videos to make sure that still happens, that they're still learning in the process. So it's really, I would say we're building family. Because I
Absolutely.
have had people to call me auntie.
Yeah, I believe,
know,
I believe it.
And
You can come and be my aunt in my house.
you get so close with these families because you really care.
Yes.
And I think when families see that you care for them outside of a program, that they really do what they need to do in order to thrive themselves.
Well, and I think one of the things that's so important in a type of support like this is that it's about engaging in relationships, and that most importantly, they're trusted. So that way, when something does happen, good, bad, or indifferent, you're a trusted resource who can maybe give them information and support. I always say to people, if you really need a plumber because your toilet doesn't work, you're going to go to somebody who you trust to make sure that gets taken care of.
Absolutely.
And so it's kind of like when we think about when we're raising our children, you want to be able to go to trusted people because there are going to be times of doubt and concern and lots of joy too. And recognizing that walking alongside, like you said, can have such a wonderful effect on the children because then they begin to see that there are trusted other adults outside of the family once they get into some of the other programs that you were referring to.
Yes. I wanted to also say, speaking along the line of trusting, like we do ASQs, ASQ3, ASQ social emotional. So that having that trusted relationship, if something were to come up on those ASQs, then we have a relationship where I can say, look, Mom, now, I wouldn't steer you wrong, but it's a little low in this area. Maybe we need to work on this, or maybe it's a refer. So let's call together and see how we can get the baby referred. So that type of relationship helps to continue to move the child further and the parent further, and they don't have to be afraid because they got somebody with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's so important, and it's interesting because you are also involved with the family advocacy centers here. Maybe can you talk a little bit about that?
Certainly. Our FAC program stands for Family Advocacy Center Program. They're rooted across the state. DCFS wanted to. They know that being preventive is better than being an intervention, right? And so what we try to do is prevent families from being entrenched or heavily involved in the child welfare system. So FACs were brought about, I want to say maybe like 2014. We've been doing it since about 2014, and we transitioned from one DCFS program to the FAC program. And what we do is we provide parental education. We do that in two different ways. We do parenting classes at Family Focus Lawndale. Right now, we are doing our programming virtually. And so it's a good thing because some barriers have been broken down, right? You don't have to travel.
Yes.
You don't have to find, well, we had childcare when we did it in person, but things that you know, and then you can do it at different times as well. Like before we had in-person services on Mondays, on Mondays from 4 to 6. And that's a time when, people are transitioning from getting their children from school, preparing dinner, getting ready for the evening. And then we also had a in-person class on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. But if you work first shift, then that's kind of not what works for you. And so now we work with, like Ms. Lou said, we work with the parents to find out what times work best for them. And so we use an evidence-based curriculum called Parenting Piece by Piece from Purdue University. And then we also provide parent coaching services, and those are a little more focused on areas of concern. So if there's doing those for the participants who are DCFS involved, and there's been a placement in place. When they do their parent-child visits, we'll go along with them when we were doing it in person, but we do it virtually now, and work with them on different parenting skills. And we'll observe the parent with their child. Want to be careful not to be too invasive, because this is their time to spend with the children. They're not in their care currently, and so we're careful to be mindful of that. But we also want to see the parents demonstrate successful parenting techniques, and so we do that. We also do court advocacy as well. A lot of times these parents haven't been involved in the child welfare system, and it can be intimidating. And so not all case managers have the time to kind of hold the parent's hand or the family's hand, and we try to do that and help them navigate themselves through the court, through the child welfare system. So that's kind of what that looks like.
Wow, and that's a lot there. I was kind of curious, in that program, is it typically families who have children birth to 3, or is it for kids who are a little bit older too? Or families with children who are older?
It ranges. A lot of it is because, children that age are at higher risk.
Yes.
If you're left alone, you can't.
Right.
If someone's 12 to 14 years old, okay, you can leave them at home by themselves. But if you have a 10-year-old watching a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, that's not okay. And some people just automatically think, well, you should automatically know that. Well, no, some parents don't. And it's not. They shouldn't be judged on that. Everyone makes mistakes, and that's what we try to impress upon our parents who are participating in our parental education services. Like, mistakes have been made. Let's make sure that we don't make the same mistake or make additional mistakes. You may not know, we have young parents. We have and I wanted to talk about this really quickly. We have a Parents Too Soon program that works similar to the PI program. Works with first-time pregnant and parenting teens, and there's a group component to that as well as individual home visiting. But back to the FAC program, I've been attached to DCFS program since I started at Family Focus, and it's so many great stories.
Yes.
Which, not only with parents not having the child taken out of the home because they prevented what was court mandated, but also when parents have had their children in placement, we help them get their children back, and it's so satisfying. And they thank us, to say thank you. You were mindful, you were supportive. You helped me secure custody of my children again, and so I just really love the work of the FAC programs, and it's being done across the state as well.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about that, I think what's really important is that families that's a very overwhelming situation. And, at Maryville, we've certainly, both agencies have kind of walked alongside the same kinds of situations. And similarly, there's a lot of amazing, resilient families who, when you think even historically, back in the day when families had, 10, 12 children, and, they had to make it work, and, just really meeting the family where they're at, and just trying to make sure that they're going to have that type of community support. I mean, the fabric of our communities has been strained to some extent, and who can you trust? And really, it's pretty outstanding that a program like that really is, it's about keeping families together and moving them forward. Now, this I really would like to talk about, because this is such an important component, I'm currently involved in a fellowship, and one of the things that I'm looking at as I'm listening is about enhancing our own services for fathers. So I don't know who wants to take this one.
I'll take it.
Okay, I'm glad.
So what's great about the Fatherhood Initiative program is that it started, for Family Focus, it started in North Lawndale, at our North Lawndale location. And so about 20 years ago, and ever since I've been with Family Focus, maybe about 17 years, we've expanded the fatherhood program. So it started in North Lawndale, it expanded to Inglewood, and then it expanded to Belmont Craig and Cicero. Wow. And then after that, it expanded to Aurora and Evanston, and then even in Highland Park. And a lot of people say, well, wow, why do you need services in Highland Park? But there's a lot of undocumented citizens and things of that nature, and residents who need our support as well. So I've been fortunate enough to be attached to the fatherhood work almost since my day one here at Family Focus. So so the program, the fatherhood program, started about 20 years ago at Family Focus Lawndale. And it started off just as a group, a support group, to say, fathers needed a voice, right? One of the things we've tried to do over time is give fathers that voice, change the narrative about fathers, number one, and two, how do we approach working with fathers? There's a piece on here. We had a collaborative called The Power of Fathers. This is with Children's Home and Aid, Family Focus, Metropolitan Family Services, and Healthy Families. HFFHC. Fathers, Families, and Healthy Communities.
You got it.
So then that partnership was about 5 years, but what we tried to do was kind of threefold, was change the approach. What does the paperwork look like? What do the images in the building look like, right?
Yes.
Does the paperwork say parent or child, or does it just say mother or child?
Yes.
It should say mother or father, or it should just say parent.
Yes.
What images do you have in your building? How do you approach our fathers? A secondary thought. And so what we did was we're more intentional about how we work with our fathers. And so that's the second tier, is having someone dedicated to that. So we have what's called a navigator. Navigator is essentially a case manager like Ms. Lou, who helps these fathers navigate through different systems, whether it's a child welfare system, whether it's the legal system, whether it's advocate for your parental rights or for custody or child support. And so we help with that. And then also kind of work on some of the policies so that we kind of support, try to work on policies so they're not as punitive, right? So that our fathers are not losing their driver's license because they weren't unable to keep up with their child support